Hello! Hi, everybody. It's Jennifer, me from Little Metal Foxes. And I've got Helen about to sign on from London town. So let's give her a chance to get signed in here. Today is Tuesday, September 21st, and we are very excited to be talking to you again with our tool tips on Tuesday. They will be posted on our YouTube channel, and you are always welcome to join us there and take a look. So if you missed any of the tool talks, come on and subscribe, like, follow, forward it to people that you like. Oh, hi, Chris. How are you this morning? And yeah, we're going to talk about refacing some hammers, which is always fun. Hi, Helen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good evening in London.
Yes. Hello.
Yes, good. So
Hello, Chris.
yeah, Chris is here. We've got yeah, a couple other people. Katie, hi, how are you? So we are talking to Helen live in London from Seattle. For those of you that are unfamiliar with Little Metal Foxes, we actually started here in Seattle, and Helen has decided to make us international. So
Foxes abroad.
Foxes abroad, yes, indeed. So one of the things that we love to do every Tuesday is a little tool talk and tool tips for you guys to...
Yeah, I have some questions.
Oh, you do? Good. Okay. Because I have some hammers that we're going to reface. Or I'm going to give you tips on refacing. So yeah, and I'm sure, Chris, feel free to put notes in the comments below. We'll shout them out as you're saying hi. One of the things that is a little irritating to me, and this is one of those things that even with the best of hammers, especially with the best of hammers, the faces are going to get all scuffed up and marred. So with a really beautiful planishing hammer, look, I can see my face in it. Literally, look right there. There it is. That's how beautiful and shiny that planishing hammer is. What's important to know about that is that the Lyreworks, hello. What's important to know about that is that the anything that you're striking, the face of the metal that you're striking with that is going to reflect the face of the hammer. So anytime you hit it with the ball peen, or if you're sort of raising, chasing, work hardening, any of those things, you want the face of that hammer to be as so shiny you can see your face in it, or mine. There we go. So this is a beautifully polished hammer, and for your planishing hammers and your finishing hammers, that's what they should look like. They should look like that. But over time, if you're using something like a chasing hammer, and this is my favorite old hammer, I've had this since like grad school, and I just love it. It's been well loved and well used. So this one, I cannot see my face in it. Yep, it's pretty gnarly. And sometimes you get when you get just a regular hammer, a lot of times the face is not finished, or less expensive hammers, they can be pitted or kind of chewed up a little bit. And if you're hitting steel with these, you're definitely going to mar those hammers up. They're a little bit softer metal, because if they were a really hard steel, when you hit them, you would possibly like break off pieces if they were too hard. So you want them to impact the tool really nicely. But it's always nice to have a beautifully finished tool, and you can actually like go rescue hammers that have seen better days. So or rust, or when you're moving overseas, across the salty water, or live in a really salty area, you might find that some of your steel tools are rusting a little bit, and hammers are especially kind of prone to that. But I have a couple of tricks, right? So
awesome.
Okay, so
let's hear it.
Here we go. So for just refacing an old hammer like that, sometimes you can sometimes they have like a little wedge in the top, and may or may not be glued on. This one I had the opportunity to pull the wedge out. There's it's like a little cone that goes in the top on this one.
It's like a really big tack, sort of.
And that just spreads the wood out and helps hold it in place. So sometimes you can just put these in the vise, and this one is still so tight even without the wedge. I'm just going to leave it on. But if you're replacing a hammer handle, that's usually what you're looking for, is making sure that it sort of comes up to the top and is smooth and fits really well. You want it to be snug on the handle. And then you're just going to take one of your beat up hammers and and just wedge that in there. So it might be, yeah, just a cone or a wedge of wood or whatever it is, but that'll tighten up that hammerhead, right? And if you have loose hammerheads, that's a great way to sort of retighten the hammerhead back onto your hammer handle, or if you want to change the handle. But anyway, this one is the one that I wanted to play with today because it needs a little love. And with some of the schools that are around here, they can get really chewed up. So they will, once a quarter, go in and kind of reface some of the more valuable hammers, especially that have been a little abused. And there's a couple of good ways to do that. So with rust, what I will usually use if there's rust on any of my tools, I'll use a little bit of navel jelly, and it's a rust remover you can get from the hardware store. There are a couple that are really good that are perfectly safe to put like steel parts in, and they're organic.
So this isn't like oil, grease, type stuff. This is actually a cleaner type solution.
It's a cleaner, yeah. It's a cleaner, and it actually removes any rust that's on the surface.
Nice.
And so if I have any rust or anything like that, I'll usually do that first. So that means if there's, sort of some rust around the outside, it's corrosive and it'll continue to sort of like creep its way around the steel. So if I've got some of that, I'll definitely take care of that. Yeah, the navel jelly.
Like navel, Naval?
Yes, yes. So so that works really well. But there's another one that you can get that is like a dip that you just stick stuff in that is kind of an organic, like water-based material that's safe to put your hands and stuff in, and you can use it over and over and over again. A lot of guys that do tool restoration on YouTube will, yes, thank you, Chris. Not navel as in belly button, but navel is in the sea. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So, but anyway, yeah, WD-40 or whatever you got, just get rid of the rust first. The second thing I'll do, and if you've got a belt sander, that can be a little aggressive, so I'm a little careful using a belt sander, but I'll usually start with, depending on how deep any of my gouges are, I'll start with my coarsest sandpaper, like a 220 usually, and just use a little bit. Sometimes I like to use a little bit of honing oil. Anytime I'm sort of working with steel, so I'll just put a little bit of honing oil on there and just sand it. And just sand the face. Here we go. There we go. So sanding the face. And if it's a curved surface, like this one's slightly curved, I'll usually do it on a little bit softer material. So right now I have like a pad of notebook paper underneath this. If I'm doing the ball end of this, I'll usually do it on a really soft surface, like a leather forming bag or sandbag.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, but this is 320 with a little bit of oil, and you just want to sort of get in there and get all the deep stuff out. And I'm rocking it around to make sure that I get the edges. I don't want any sharp edges on my hammer because that can leave a real bad mark on my metal when I'm working with it. So I'll do that and just work my way up through the, and that's looking better already, much smoother, fewer pits. Yeah, and a padded stool works really well. I've got a, my little turtle sandbag that's here. Where is he? Where's his head? There he is. There he is. So, yeah, so if I'm doing the ball end, I'll make sure I'm just doing it on something soft, or if it's the, there, that's better. And if it's the face.
Or you can maybe do it like in your palm so that you have a little bit of that formation of roundness in your hand maybe. Yeah.
Right. So this face on this planishing, or on this ball peen, is not completely flat. And I really don't want it to be flat exactly. Simply because it's, it's a softer surface for what I do, or a little bit more of a rounded planishing surface for what I do. So I will work my way up through the, through all of the grits from about 220 up to 400 or 600 until it's nice and smooth, right? But I really want to get a shine on this guy. And what I will do is
Yeah, this is where I
use
have my questions.
where you get the shine up. So
Well, it's like what compound and what kind of wheel do you use?
yes.
And do you have to keep it separate from all your other metals?
I usually will have I'll usually be using something like Fabuluster or Fabuluster or Zam. And Zam is really good for steel, and so is Fabuluster.
Oh, nice.
They're great for all kinds of stuff, but they're great for steel and even plastics sometimes when you're trying to polish stones. I mean, it's all kinds of goodness with those two things. So those have some aggressive quality, but they also are really smooth. So they'll do a really nice finish on steel faces, like your punches, your hammers. And I'll usually, for something like this, my go-to is a little miniature mop or a little miniature fluffy wheel like this, with a little bit of Tripoli or Zam. Are usually the ones I'm using.
And then Lyre Works wanted to know you don't want to soak the handle necessarily, but just make sure that what's the protocol for? Oh, I guess to answer that, Lyre Works, Jennifer had earlier said try to take the hammer actually off the handle.
Yeah.
If you can. If not, then just soak what you can, and then.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So most of them are not going to hurt the wood. So yeah, they're just. But if you can take the head off and refit it, it's going to just give you a whole new and just redressing the hammer at that point. So so use a little bit of like honing oil or a little bit of thin oil and take that stuff up to a nice shine, and make sure you work on the coarsest grit until your face is smooth, because if you don't take out the pock marks, anything that's on the face of that hammer will transfer onto your metal. And you really want to make sure that if you're hitting it directly with your hammer, that it's going to be a nice shiny finish, right? So that's kind of the trick to it. So coarsest one first. This one's nice and smooth, and you just want to kind of match the face of the hammer that you
get an even surface at that grit level.
Right. And then I'll take it up to the finer grits to remove the coarser sandpaper until I get it up to almost a satin finish. Then what I will do is you can use Zam on like a little teeny tiny mop like this in your flex shaft, or if you have Zam or Fabuluster, white diamonds, not quite Tripoli. Tripoli is a little bit better. So any of those, will help take that up a little bit. And there's some other ones from Luxie that are really great and this is a really good polishing compound because it is silica free, water based, and some of them are actually vegan. So one of the things that people don't tell you about a lot of the compounds that you're working with is that they may contain silica and other metals and abrasives that when you're polishing, that'll all come up in your face. Right. No. So the Luxie, this one, I love this little kit because it's like a little candy sampler from Rio. Yeah. I love it. So the number on that, if you want it, is 331-111. So
I have looked at those, and I have almost bought. They're in my wish list. So definitely now I'm going to have to go get them.
Look at that.
Oh, look at that.
They're little they're so. I know. They're little bite-sized pieces. So with this one, it'll actually tell you which one's good with steel and different materials. It'll tell you what little mop to use it on. It'll tell you what color works with what, and with the
that is handy.
So with the steel, I'd be using a like a stitched cotton, untreated, with the black compound. So this one would be the best for doing the steel. But I mean, I use the blue a lot. These are just really good. So check them out if you have a chance. A little sampler box like this will last you a really long time if you're just doing jewelry and stuff. And you'll find you use some more than others, and then just buy that as a replacement when you need it, right? So with these, when you load them up on your flex shaft, I will use. Well, let's just use that one since I have it here. I will load these up on my buffer on my buffer or with my flex shaft, and just get those in place. And as it's spinning, pick up a little bit of your compound so you load up or charge your wheel to get it nice and sort of juicy before you get started. Then, as you're polishing the face, you can just, polish it until it's nice and smooth. The ZAM, is going to work the best for this, from what I have found in the past, just as sort of being an aggressive material as well as a shine on steel. So that's my favorite one to work with.
What kind of speed are we talking about?
You really don't want to wind it all the way up. None of the tools for the flex shaft are designed to go as fast as the flex shaft is designed to, but at a steady speed is usually better than an irregular speed. So you can use things like the controller to sort of control the speed on your flex shaft, or if you're using a buffer, it's going to be at a constant speed with like a 6-inch wheel, and that's fine too. A lot of people love the bigger faces for finishing hammers like this. The other thing I would recommend is that if you don't have a good buffer or you're worried about the wheels, the other old school solution is chamois cloth. And so you can charge up chamois cloth with any of your compounds and polish it by hand the same way that you were sanding it. So what I will do, and I'll do this sometimes with my chasing tools too, when I want to sort of put a new face on them, is just, get the chamois cloth or the leather, and you can use leather samples that are just, a good old purse from Goodwill.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the black one is going to sort of help be a little bit abrasive and help to start shining this up a little bit, so it's getting a little shinier.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I haven't done a whole lot to this, but it sure has made a difference just cleaning it up, right? So cleaning it up a little bit more, and you're starting to see a little bit of a shine on there. Look at that.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a little chamois cloth and something nice and soft like this, like some leather, will help bring that up to a nice, shiny finish. Yeah. The last thing I'll usually do is something like the Flitz compound. And Flitz is really great. Hey, Julia. Flitz is really great because you can just put a little bit on the face of your hammer, and I'll usually let it sit for a few minutes. But the Flitz is really kind of nice because it's another one of those polishing compounds that is great on all kinds of surfaces and plastics and stone and everything else. This I usually have like a spot on my chamois cloth that I'm using. I actually use it for shining up my rolling mill too. So this one's really great. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. So I'll get a little of that Flitz on my leather pad here on my chamois cloth. Oh, there it comes. And just give it a nice rub, and make sure you get the sides a little bit, so it's not, so the sides aren't crusty, because you don't want those crusty bits hitting your pieces of bracelet and stuff when you're working. But yeah,
FLITZ Lyreworks. Here, let me
Flix.
FLITZ.
Yeah, and you can get this at the hardware store usually.
Yeah, and she'll be covering this in her upcoming class this weekend.
Yes, I will.
Finishing and polishing.
Finishing and polishing. Indeed, I will. Let's look at that. What? So I can almost see my face in that, and I have not done a whole lot of work. And you guys saw how crusty that was to begin with.
That's easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking that, you're going to have to, like, bust out the belt sander and your works and blah, 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 and it's just going to be a pain in the butt. No. That's actually really easy.
Yeah, and I mean, it's got a shine on it. It still has a few deeper, pieces.
Because you're not perfecting it. You're demonstrating.
But that's basically what I'll do to resurface the face of the hammer. And it's just, it can be really easy. You don't have to make it real hard, and you can work with the stuff that's around you. But having a little bit of, a light oil, like honing oil on hand, having some, chamois cloth, and you can get this from, the auto parts store or the auto parts section of, just about any place. But again, you can use stuff like an old purse that has some suede on it, or a leather sample of some kind.
Old glove.
And you can pick up like a little square of leather at like Joann Fabrics, and that works fine. But yeah. So, I mean, that's how easy it is just to do that. And then on the ball side, I'll do, pretty much the same thing. I'll just work in circles until I get it all shined up. So, but yeah, keeping these the tool faces kind of separated for the ones that you're going to be using to strike metal with. Like if you're striking steel with, like as a chasing tool or stamps, those are going to be heavily marred surfaces. And every now and then you're going to have to reface those. And those can take a little more work. Things like my my brass mallet that I use for,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So, any of the big bronze and brass mallets like this, I'm hitting a steel punch with this. And so that steel is going to impact. So just, with some coarse sandpaper, you can clean these up. These, you want to prevent them from mushrooming around the outside. So I usually will take a file if it's doing something like that. But yeah, you don't want it to splinter off and, potentially, put your eye out.
Yeah,
But,
no,
yeah,
we don't want
just
that.
redressing these. And I'll usually, with these, I usually don't take these up to a high shine. I'll just take them up to, just
Yeah.
if I need to clean up the edges, just to redress that with a file and then sand that down nice and smooth so I don't have any splinters of bronze coming off of it. But
Splinters of death.
but the ones that you're going to be striking things like the surface of your metal with, like your silver, you really want to have that perfectly bright face where you're like can see your shining face in the face of your hammer, because that's the texture that it's going to put on your metal when you hit it. So if this isn't shiny, your metal won't be shiny either, and you'll end up with a craggy surface. And there are a lot of times that you want to, there are a couple of hammers that are kind of great because you can actually change the head to add texture or, adapt. Yeah, you have one? Yeah. So, and those are great because you're deliberately you're using the hammers like a texturing tool. And that's perfectly cool too, to take, an old hammer like this and, and grind in some texture and use it as like a stamping tool.
Texture that nobody else has.
Right, exactly right. So anyway, how's that sound? Do you think you can do that, Helen?
I think I can.
Right.
I mean, seriously, I was actually intimidated by this, and now seeing how easy it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super easy because I really thought you had to have like special sandpaper, and had to, because it's steel. You have to work really hard at it, and obviously it is just easy lemon squeezy.
Yeah, it really is, and because this is a little bit softer steel, it really is. It comes down pretty quick. So if you've got, some of your regular old sandpaper, go for it. I will separate if I'm using this on steel, I will separate that from any of my precious and my working metals. If I'm working with, silver, copper, any of that, because I don't want any of the steel to end up on my piece and then end up in the pickle. So,
oh, that's right.
Right.
That's exactly why you don't want to contaminate. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So we do want to kind of keep things separate.
A little bit. With the sandpaper, I usually do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So because there are, particles of the iron coming off of this. So with those, I'm a little more careful about the sandpaper and making sure that I'm not using it on pieces that I'm like going to town on with those silver pieces. The other thing that I would avoid is striking hammers together, because usually one's going to be slightly harder than the other, and by hitting them together, you can actually really damage the face of the hammers, flatten them out really bad, and potentially crack and break one. So be a little careful. You don't want to be like banging them together. So I know kids will be like, ding, ding, ding with them. And it's like, if you see them with your, $70 hammers, you're like, what? So don't do that. But it's,
Hi, Michael.
Yeah, but it's a lot easier to dress these and clean them up than you might thought. So just having little flits, having a little ZAM, and you usually can pick up things like ZAM at hardware stores as well, because it's used as a chrome polish, so any of the chrome polishes work really well for stuff like that. But the Luxie Black in the set, the Tripoli, the ZAM, and Fabuluster are the ones that I would look for. Yeah.
Very cool. And I think sometimes you get like it looks at least like Tripoli in like your Dremel sets and stuff like that. They sometimes will have a little pot of that. So just FYI, in case you didn't know what that was, that's probably what it is.
Yeah, it's probably Tripoli. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's usually Tripoli, sort of an orangey colored one.
Yeah, rusty brownish
yeah.
orange color. Yeah.
Right. And Fabuluster is kind of a orangey whitish color, and then Zam is green. So it's I like using Zam. It's just, it really does a beautiful surface. So you can polish
it up. My Zam comes in a tube, like a little push-up popsicle.
Yeah, exactly right. Yep. Or peel paper version. Yeah. So yeah, but there's some cool things going on this week that I wanted to tell you about. Oh, where can you buy the honing oil and sandpaper? The hardware store. It's just regular.
Look in the knife sharpening section, probably, or Anytime tool sharpening.
Absolutely. Yeah. So any light oil like this will work really well. So whatever light oil, mineral oil works fine. This is just a petroleum-based thin oil, and so any of the light oils like 3-in-1 oil, sewing machine oil, any of the oils that you have will work. In fact, I'm sure you could probably just use vegetable oil if you wanted to. It just adds some lubrication. And I like using it better than water because it just gives it a smoother finish, and it helps to sort of embed the oils into the surface of the hammer that prevent it from rusting. So that's why I like using oils when I'm sanding my hammers. There you go. Right? Good question. Cool. Thanks, Babette. Yes. Cool. So, couple of exciting things. I wanted to do a shout out. Ornament Magazine.
I know. Yay!
I'm so excited. The latest copy, volume 42 number 2, has and Ornament's always been a great magazine. This is international, I think, so you usually can find it all over the place. But a huge shout out to the Seattle Metals Guild. This is a article interview with Patrick Benesh Liu, and he had contacted me back in June to answer some questions about what was going on with the Metals Guild. And there's an interview with me, Mickey Lippy, and Andy Cooperman that's part of this article. But it tells you what all's going on here in the Northwest, and some pictures of, oh, look at me.
Oh, look, here's Jennifer.
Thanks, Helen. But yeah, it's a good article, and it sort of tells you what all's going on.
It is a really nice article.
How we got through the 2020 being a very active Metals Guild in a place where everybody was locked down, and how we kind of dealt with that, and what people did as in response, and how the Metal Guild sort of handled that. One of the things that we did was start Little Metal Foxes, and so there's a shout out to Little Metal Foxes in Ornament. Yay! So thanks, Ornament. So there's that. And yeah. Oh, also this week, the Jewelers Academy is doing a really fun Reels challenge. So check it out. So yeah, so we have a couple of Reels. I'm new at making Reels. So we're making some Reels on Instagram, so you can sort of see some quick little how-tos, what's going on, meet the makers. So if you go to Jewelers Academy, you can, add them into the @Jewelers Academy. So definitely follow them. They're in the UK and are really awesome. So I do like them a lot. And they always have some cool stuff going on. The other person I want to give a shout out to is Corky over at the Metalsmith Society. She's always got some great tool tips, and she's working on a book for the Metals Society right now. So, yay to Corky. So yeah, with classes coming up this week, we've got finishing and polishing. And I know that this is one of the questions I get in almost every single class that I do. What do I use to polish my piece? How do I polish the piece? I don't know how to finish the piece. And so I wanted to sit down with some people and really talk to them specifically about what they're doing with their finishing and what they have available to them, and what steps they can go through to because for a lot of people it's really customized, and it's not as simple as go through the sanding papers, go through Tripoli and Rouge, and it should be perfect. And if it's not, you're not doing it right. And that's not how it works. That's kind of the basics for polishing a band ring, you know, and it's one of those things you learn in Intro to Jewelry that people never go past. It's kind of like they get stuck there in that kind of basic way of thinking about finishing and polishing. So there's all kinds of different programs that you can sort of customize for your needs. So I wanted to sort of work with everybody and talk to them a little bit about finishing techniques, finishing media, doing tumbling media, doing pin finishing, and all of the above to make it easier, first of all, and to get better results. Because a lot of times everybody's really unsatisfied with their finish. They're like, I don't know why, but it's got pits in it because I use the tumbler. And I'm like, then you didn't break your media in and you may not be lubricating properly. So are you using a rotary tumbler or are you using a vibratory tumbler, or a magnetic tumbler? So there's like lots and lots and lots of problem solving that we're going to do, and lots of information about media and compounds and surfaces. Hi, Karen. Hi. So lots of different medias and finishes and polishes and processes that you can do to finish your metal, and we can hopefully find a system that works for what you're doing in your own studio. So that's what I've got coming up next. How about, what else is going on?
After that, you're doing recycling and scraps and alloys.
Right.
So you're going to talk about how you can take whatever scraps that you have, melt them down, make things out of them, maybe make your own alloys, like shibuichi. There's different levels of silver to copper and things like that.
Absolutely.
And then Julia has her electro etching class.
Yes.
And let me tell you, that class is fantastic.
Yes.
It will blow your brain.
Absolutely.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And then
glass.
I have a class.
You do?
I'm teaching a class.
So tell me about your
class.
class.
Anybody who wants to learn how to fuse glass, and it's going to be very basic, and I'm going to show you some of the ways to create some fun things that you could probably give as gifts or keep it yourself, like a coaster, a nightlight, a small plate, like a ring dish type thing. And then from there, once you learn kind of the basics, then I've got plans on doing some more jewelry-oriented classes, so that you can learn how to make your own cabochons and things like that. And what's really great is that you can use your flex shaft, as Jennifer has demonstrated in her flex shaft class, to do some of the polishing and cutting work. So you don't have to necessarily have any different equipment other than a kiln. Kiln's kind of
well, and a lot of people, if you don't have a kiln in your studio, we sort of talked about the kiln advantages last week, and having a kiln or a small kiln in your studio for things just like that, for doing things like enamels or glass or work hardening your pieces. And that's seriously right now, that's the thing. And I'm a caster. The thing that I use the kiln for absolutely more than anything else is work hardening my metal. And because it takes all the guesswork out of it. It takes I don't have to hit the metal, so it just leaves it perfectly spring hard and then into the pin finisher with 50 pairs of earrings at once. So I don't have to do it. So it just makes it easier. Again, finishing. Come join me this weekend, won't you? But the glass class is really great because it's going to get everybody sort of the basics on what the glasses are, what you can use, what kilns or what temperatures, all that stuff. So I'm really excited to see that class coming up, and I'm glad we're going to have more of those as well, and hopefully some more enameling classes too. So that'll give us
we're hoping to we've got some feelers out, so we're working on the enamel, getting more choices and things. But what else is coming up in October is our advanced jewelry sketching. And AJ is taking a more advanced class that's coming up October 11th. Really, really recommend. He's a great teacher. It's a really helpful class. And then back to Jennifer. At the end of the month, sticks and stones. Be perfect for like any kind of Halloween stuff.
Oh, true.
Oh, hello. Sorry. I now have to go.
Okay. So sticks and stones. Okay.
All
right. Love you, babe. Have fun in London.
Okay.
Bye.
Yay. Bye.
So the sticks and stones class. Go. Have fun. We'll see you later. The Sticks and Stones class is going to be coming up as well, and that's working with cold connections and with riveting and cold joining, and you know, knowing what adhesives are going to be right for joining parts together. So I'll be working with sticks, rocks, glass, hair, teeth, shell, you name it, bring it. Bring it on. Ask me your questions. Feathers. I mean, I've worked with it all. So I'm a mixed media artist usually, and so I want to share that with you, how I join those parts together, and it includes plastics and everything else. So how to put all that together, and then we will continue later on. We'll go back to doing some wax carving in the studio as well, coming up later this winter. So I'm very excited about that. And so don't be afraid to work on refacing your hammers. It's real simple. If you missed the part of me talking about it, you can go back and watch any of our tool talks on YouTube, on our Little Metal Foxes YouTube channel. So we will see you there, and make sure to click the button, subscribe, ring the bell, wherever they are, ring the bell. And that way you know when we've added new content to our YouTube channel. So right now there's about 30 different tool tips on there with me and Helen or Julia. So we're always glad to share that information with you, and stay tuned for more reels this week. So yeah, so thanks a lot, everybody, and we will see you guys later. Bye.